The story begins with Paul, his wife Chloe, and their son who go on a trip around the country in an old camper van. After a great family vacation, they make their way back home during a rainstorm. Upon arrival, Paul tries to use his gate key to open the house, but it does not work even after several attempts. His wife calls their house line to alert the house sitters Sabrina and her husband Eric that they are outside, but it goes to voicemail. But she notices that they have changed the voicemail greeting to their names. Chloe calls again and puts it on the loudspeaker so that her husband can also hear the tomfoolery. She leaves a message telling them to open the front gate. Meanwhile, Paul climbs over the fence to investigate, and soon after the police come to the house after receiving a call. Chloe alerts them that they are only trying to get back into their home. The house gate finally opens, but the second police officer takes Paul as an intruder and holds him at gunpoint. Eric and Sabrina come out confirming to the police that they called them and proclaim to be the residents of the property. Paul protests, but the police apprehends him before he can put his case forward, all the while his son watches from inside their car. The following day, the family of 3 is taken to the police station where the situation is presented to them. The officer alerts them that Eric and Sabrina claim that the house was rented to them by the couple, but Chloe explains that Sabrina has been their childminder for 2 years. They got evicted from their house around the time the family was going on their 2-month trip, so they let them stay there while they were gone as an act of charity. The officer presents a document asking if Paul signed it, which he did, but he claims that he only asked them to pay for the utility bills while they were gone. With that document, the police can't evict them, which infuriates Paul because it's his house. The couple don't waste any more time at the station and go back to their house to confront Eric and his wife, but the dirty squatters dare to still claim that it's their place and even give him his mail to leave with. The family makes their way to a campsite nearby in search of some stability. Upon their arrival, they are greeted by Mickey the groundsman. He recognizes Chloe, but her reaction to seeing him is a little bit more reserved as she introduces her husband to her old acquaintance. He directs them to a parking space and quickly points out some of the park's amenities. As they drive off, she assures her husband that they are just schoolmates. He later tries to make a few calls to understand how the squatters pulled it off, but he doesn't get any satisfactory answers from the utility provider. His wife later comes out to comfort him. The couple gets a lawyer who promises them that they have a very strong case, so the family will be back in their home in the coming days. The school year is starting, so both Paul and his son get ready to go as he's a history teacher at a high school. He has an altercation with a student in the classroom when discussing social issues. The young lad states his opinion that if one gets robbed, it's because they are weak. It strikes a nerve inside Paul given his current situation, so he kicks the kid out of the class, but the guy gets annoyed and calls him an Oreo before storming out. After a rough day, he comes back home frustrated, but his mood gets better when his wife and friends surprise him with a party for his birthday, which they enjoy. When the party finishes, Paul tries to carry it on in the sheets with his wife, but she shuts it down as she is not in the mood. She just wishes him a happy birthday before going to bed. The day of the court hearing comes, and they rule in favor of Eric and Sabrina because of the vague agreement they signed. Paul berates his lawyer for leading them to an L, but she assures them they will get their house back. It's just going to take a little longer than expected. It looks like he hired the same lawyer as Amanda Heard. The teacher takes matters into his own hands and goes to the relevant authorities, but they just toss him around and waste his time. Later that night, he walks home defeated and gets annoyed when he sees a statue of a black man holding bananas in Mickey's yard, so he decides to throw it into the lake. Unbeknownst to him, the guy was watching, so he gets Paul's attention by commenting that he will not take his soul for his transgressions against his doll. Mickey switches a light on to reveal himself and calls Paul over just as he apologizes. The groundsman offers him a beer before they begin the small talk. Things quickly start getting deep when Mickey discloses that he was married but his wife left him. He then uses it to segue into finding out Paul's situation. After hearing it, he gives his opinion that he's a victim because he decided to be one. He gets offended and leaves quietly. The couple later have another meeting with their lawyer who informs them that the next hearing is in winter, which is a problem, because the law doesn't permit evictions during this period unless the people being evicted have found new accommodation beforehand. So even if they win, until the government houses them, the squatters will continue to live in the house. Paul storms off at the news and loses it during the car ride home. Later at school, a fight breaks out between some students, but he just watches on because he's too scared to go break it up. Another teacher has to do the work. He begins to see Mickey's point as he walks away. That evening on his way home, he's invited on a lad's night out with Mickey and Frank. He jumps in the back of the car, timid by the gun and rough nature of the two of them, but they break the ice by taking a group selfie and giving him a beer before setting off. The teacher receives a call from his wife but ignores it. They arrive at the party and it's crazy as people let loose. Frank drinks an entire beer underwater as the crowd cheer. The music booms while the teacher looks around, the madness happening around clearly out of his element. Frank comes over and hands him some happy juice for him to take. He sits on the couch and is shortly joined by a lady that wants a piece of him, but he dodges her advances while Frank suggests they get his house back by using guns. Meanwhile, another guy completes the underwater beer challenge, so Frank prompts Paul to get up and do the same. The crowd chants as the teacher undresses and submerges himself in the water and finishes the drink. He smiles high from the adrenaline. The boys take their guns to a different part of the building where they shoot some wild pigs that infest the area. They later go outside to finish the ones that are still alive. Mickey uses the animal infestation as a metaphor for the teacher's current situation. Paul picks up on the cue and takes the gun before coldly shooting one of the pigs, which symbolizes his squatters. He returns home the following morning, and Chloe watches as they say goodbye. Mickey looks at her with a smug look. She comes out to greet her husband, but he instructs her to get in the camper. The night out with the lads has increased his testosterone levels. He speeds to his house and crashes the back fence before parking on the grass. Eric comes out and warns him to vacate the premises, but Paul plays a reverse Uno, alerting him that he can't be evicted unless the owner obtains a court order. Their son dashes into the house and the adults chase after him, but Eric stops the couple from entering the house. Soon after, the kid comes back outside holding his portable games console. Following his son's footsteps, he asks for his pet bird, but Eric rejects his request. That evening, the couple sit on top of their camper looking at their home as the squatters enjoy it. Chloe asks her husband if he had a good time on his lad's night out, before advising him to calm down and accept that they can't do anything for now. She suggests that they should concentrate on the family and move to a friend's house in the meantime. He's determined to get his property back, so he has taken 2 weeks' leave to camp outside the house. The following day, Chloe goes to warn Mickey to stay away from her husband, but he tries to get a little too touchy when it is revealed that the two of them had an entanglement in the past. She breaks free by kneeing him and his family jewels before leaving. At a later date, Paul still hangs out with Mickey in a jacuzzi, oblivious to the fact that he tried to grab a feel of his wife, but as they discuss, it is apparent to Mickey that Chloe has cheated on Paul in the past, which the teacher confirms. He further concludes that he didn't leave her because he was scared, just like his house situation. The groundsman tries to convince him to break the bad habit and do something about the house. The following day, he and Mickey decide to make posters to raise public awareness of the situation by making his son take a sad picture to get sympathy. The guys later hand it out in the market to the people passing by. Paul later relaxes in his camper when Eric busts in and drags him out to the front of the house to show him the pig carcass presented on the front gate with a message written in blood. Paul alerts him that it's the hate from the people as the news has spread, and it is revealed that Sabrina is pregnant. As the teacher makes his way back to his camper, he's confronted by his friend who advises him to relax and discloses that Mickey went to jail for beating his ex-wife. He warns him to pull himself together if he wants to keep his wife and job. Chloe seconds what their friend is saying, so it leads to a big fight between the two. She packs some things and leaves since she and their son will stay at their friend's place. That night, Paul goes to another party with the boys. This time he lets loose and takes a lot of happy juice and pharmaceutical products. Paul has a happy time with the lady who was flirting with him the last time. His consciousness starts to berate him, so he leaves the club where he comes across Frank and Mickey beating someone outside. He pleads for them to stop, but they don't, so the teacher leaves the scene on foot. They later catch up to him and remind him that tonight is the night they get the house back, but Paul is not interested in following through with their plan. Mickey and Frank show their true nature as they taunt him and reveal that the groundsman had relations with his wife in the past. The teacher tries to fight him, but he's pushed in the face before they leave. He yells out in frustration before he calls his wife and leaves a message alerting her that he wants to do things the proper way now. He makes his way home where Chloe comes to see how he's doing. He confronts her about her past with Mickey, but she explains that they were just kids and it meant nothing, so she assures him that it is he that she loves. As they prepare to physically reconcile, they are interrupted by loud beeping and shouting. The couple run to the house to alert Eric and Sabrina of the upcoming danger, but they're too late because they crash through the front gate and start burning the front yard. The teacher makes his way to the front of the house to confront Mickey, but the groundsman confesses that since he has already had his wife, he wants his house next. Eric comes out and punches Mickey in the face, but he eats the blow like a champ before retaliating, knocking the squatter out. Paul is already inside the house with the ladies and the door locked, but he later comes back outside to check on Eric when the attackers disappear. However, they are still around on the rooftop, and they throw a Molotov cocktail which frightens him back inside. He grabs a weapon, and with his wife, they move through the house as the lads break in. The couple ends up falling into a plastic covering when confronted. The intruders pounce on them like a pack of hyenas. They stop suddenly and begin to smash the house up while dancing around the place. Mickey then comes back and shows the top of Chloe's natural form. As they lie there, they bring Eric back inside and drag his pregnant wife too, before they start to vacuum seal them as Sabrina screams. Paul uses it as an opportunity to pick a knife and escape with his wife. He hides her inside a wardrobe before dashing to the camper van. The intruders stop and notice that the couple is not around, so Mickey goes to check for them, but as he's about to find Chloe, her husband crashes the camper into some of the guys who are standing by the patio door, but he narrowly misses Eric. Paul reverses back to ram them again, but the vehicle stops working. Mickey notices this and sends Frank to finish him off while he prepares to set the house on fire. Paul hides under the camper and cuts the sidekick's legs before finishing him off. The teacher rushes back inside and sets up the car to explode by releasing the cooking gas. He then baits Mickey to enter, before throwing a Molotov cocktail inside which sets him on fire. He runs into the pool, but there was gasoline in there which causes more burning. A visual example of the saying, from frying pan to fire. Paul turns his back to walk away, but Mickey climbs from the pits of hell and attacks. As he viciously beats him, Chloe comes up from behind and knocks him down. He gets back up again and hits her down, but she holds him off with a pressure washer which gives Paul the chance to whack him down. He then repeatedly hits him while his wife watches. Mickey rises again like a cockroach, but this time, he congratulates Paul for getting his house back before returning to the pits of hell. The couple hug each other before going to help Eric and Sabrina. Some time passes and the family is back in their home. Paul puts his son to bed before making his way to his bedroom. With his show of primal energy during the ordeal, his wife is definitely in the mood this time around.